Your agency sent the report this morning. 4x ROAS. Campaign is performing, and somewhere across the office or on the other end of a Slack message, your CFO is looking at the same month and is asking a different question. Why are our net margins getting thinner? Both of you are looking at real data. The disconnect is not a communication problem, it is a measurement problem. ROAS, return on ad spend, is the metric your agency lives by. It is the metric ad platforms were designed to produce, and it is structurally, mathematically incapable of telling you whether a campaign made you money. Optimizing for ROAS is like celebrating the scoreboard at halftime without knowing if the points actually count. Let me show you exactly what ROAS is measuring. The formula is simple. Revenue generated divided by ad spend. You spent $10,000 on ads, the platform attributed $42,000 in revenue to those ads. 4.2x ROAS. Now, what is inside that $42,000 of revenue? It is gross revenue. The number before anything is subtracted, before the cost of the goods you sold, before the shipping cost you paid to fulfill the order, before the returns that come back, before the platform fees Shopify charged on every transaction, before the cost of creative production, before the agency retainer that generated that report congratulating you on a 4.2x. ROAS does not know any of those numbers. It cannot know them. It is a ratio of revenue to ad spend, nothing more. And yet, for most Shopify brands, it is the primary signal used to decide whether to scale a campaign, cut a campaign, or hand an agency a bonus. The metric is not lying to you. It is just answering a very narrow question, and you have been treating that narrow answer as a complete picture of how healthy is your business. There is a second layer to this problem that most operators never see in their dashboards. Imagine two customers. Both acquire in the same campaign. Both placed a $120 order on the same day. The campaign gets the same ROAS credit for each of them. Customer A comes back and purchases again 3 weeks later, then again at 8 weeks. Over 12 months, they spend $580 with your brand. Their lifetime value turns a marginally profitable first transaction into a highly profitable relationship. Customer B never returns. One purchase, one refund request 6 days later, a customer service exchange, and then silence. The lifetime value of that acquisition is actually negative. The campaign ROAS counted both of them identically. This is the cohort problem. ROAS treats every acquired customer as if they have the same future value. But your repeat purchase data, your RFM segmentation, your customer lifetime value by acquisition channel, all of it tells a radically different story. Some campaigns are acquiring customers A, some are acquiring customers B, and unless you connect your ad spend, your creative angles, and your hooks to your actual Shopify CLV data, you have no way to know which is which. Scaling the wrong campaign is not a neutral mistake. It is an active investment in future churn. Let me build a calculation that your agency report does not show you. The campaign generated $42,000 in attributed revenue. Ad spend was $10,000. ROAS 4.2x. So far, so good. Now, we subtract cost of goods sold. For a typical Shopify D2C brand, COGS runs at 35 to 45% revenue. At 40%, that is $16,800 gone immediately. Shipping and fulfillment average $6.5 per order. At an average order of $84, that is approximately 500 orders. Shipping cost $3,250. Returns. Industry average for D2C is 15 to 20%. At 15%, roughly 75 orders are not there anymore. Net revenue impact after restocking minus $4,200. Shopify transaction fees at 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction on a $42,000 gross, approximately $1,368. Creative production for the campaign, $1,800 for the entire campaign run. The agency retainer allocated to this campaign, $2.5K. Revenue, $42K. Subtract COGS, $16.8K. Shipping, $3,250. Returns, $4,200. Transaction fees, $1,368. Creative, $1,800. Agency, $2.5K. And ad spend, $10K. True profit is $2,082. On a $10,000 ad spend, that is a 20.8% return on actual cash invested, not 4.2x. The 4.2x ROAS was real. The math behind it just told a different story. And this calculation does not yet account for the lifetime value of the customers acquired, which, depending on the cohort, could swing that $2,082 in either direction. So if ROAS is the wrong signal, what is the right one? It is the true profit. And how do you get the true profit? By looking at the customer acquisition cost versus customer lifetime value, looking at the customer acquisition cost payback period, and looking at which customers are the most profitable ones. And how do you do that? Through RFM segmentation, recency, frequency, and monetary value. When you apply RFM to your customer base, you stop looking at customers as individual transactions and start seeing them as cohorts with predictable future behavior. Your champion segments are customers with high recency, high frequency, and high monetary value, are worth significantly more per acquisition than a first-time buyer who may never return. The true profit of acquiring a champion is not the margin of their first order, it is the net present value of the next 18 months of purchasing. When you connect your meta ad spend to your RFM segments in Shopify, you can answer the question that ROAS cannot. Which campaigns are acquiring the champions and which ones are acquiring one-and-done customers? True scaling is not spending more on campaigns with high ROAS. True scaling is identifying the campaigns, the angles, the hooks, and the high CLV cohorts and allocating budget towards the audience profiles, the creatives, and the channels that produce them. Connecting meta ad spend data to actual Shopify margin and historical CLV data by customer cohort is not a reporting task. It is a data engineering task. Doing this manually takes hours every week. And by the time the analysis is complete, the campaign has already been running or shut off based on the ROAS number that come in first. The insights are arriving too late. OmniConvert Nexus was engineered specifically to eliminate this manual labor. Nexus integrates OmniConvert Reveal's RFM intelligence layer directly into the campaign management workflow. Moreover, it's deciphering which ads are the most impactful, is deconstructing your ads and your competitors' ads to understand which messages should be used and what creative should be generated. And guess what? It generates the creatives and the landing pages automatically. Every campaign is then connected in real time to the true profit contribution of the customers it acquires. Bid recommendations are based on which audience profiles and creatives are producing champion segment customers. The system prioritizes budget autonomously toward acquisition patterns that generate actual cash flow. And before launching a campaign at all,
e-commercebenchmark.ai
analyzes market demand and specific search trends for your product category. It's identifying the periods where your competitors are running aggressive campaigns, the windows when high intent, high margin buyers are actively in the market. ROAS will not disappear from your reporting. The platforms will keep producing it. Your agency will keep leading with it, but you now have a choice about whether it is the signal you optimize for or whether the level that you're after is 4.2 or maybe 6.5. The brands that are scaling profitably right now still look at ROAS as a reference point, but they scale on true profit. They bid on CLV cohort data. They identified the demand windows before they launch. Now, remember your CFO's question, why are margins shrinking? That has an answer now. The answer is that you have been optimizing for a metric that cannot see margin. Fix the metric, fix the margin. Start with the Shopify benchmark audit. Understand which creatives and how many creatives you should be running. Analyze your competitors' creative and positioning and messaging and hooks. Then connect every campaign to the profit number that actually matters. A 4x ROAS that loses money is not a success. It is a 4x amplification of a broken model. Know your true profit, scale what actually works, and see you in the next episode. And by the way, why don't you subscribe?